This is the Popcorn Junkies movie news. I don't think there's anyone in the UK who's actually doing a sort of movie news roundup. So we're not proclaiming that we're going to give you exclusives. I haven't got sort of spies in Disney or at Marvel or anything like that. But I do have a capacity to be able to pull together some of the leading movie news stories quite rapidly, as we do on our Popcorn Junkies Movie Club Instagram account. So if you like that, this is an opportunity to talk about stuff like that in a little bit more detail. Now, I think the point of doing anything like a movie news roundup is the comments below. So let's have conversations, let's chat. Lots of people get very hot under the collar about certain franchises, certain films. People are very protective of certain stars and certain movies. And we are too, you know. Maddie's a real Marvel girl, we're big Marvel fans, we're slowly coming over to DC. Any movie news that's up for grabs, we are interested in it. So what's kicking off this week? What's trending? What's the news? Casting, behind the scenes, box office receipts, you name it, we're up for it. Hopefully this is something that will serve a purpose to some people. I don't think anyone in Britain is actually doing this. The first little bit of news we thought we'd kick off with is Aquaman 2. It's scheduled for its release in 2022, December the 22nd, 2022. Why not sooner, I hear you ask? Because the DC Extended Universe has got so many films coming out. It's got Wonder Woman 1984. Are you excited about Wonder Woman 1984? Now, we're going to have to make a huge confession. We didn't watch Wonder Woman when it first came out. Didn't really appeal to us. But we will be watching Wonder Woman 1984. Birds of Prey. Another outing, obviously, for Harley Quinn with Margot Robbie. The Batman. Obviously, there's a new version of the Batman coming. Not a lot to be found out about that. And there's Suicide Squad 2 being directed by James Gunn. And not to forget, obviously, there's the Joker, or just Joker, with Joaquin Phoenix. So they've pushed Aquaman 2 back to a 2022 release, which seems quite a way away. Often with a new franchise, what do you think? Do you think that's too far away with a new franchise that succeeds? I mean, I don't think anyone expected Aquaman to be as much of a success as it was. Yeah, 2022, that seems like a long wait. 3 years, 3.5 years? You normally want to sort of strike while the iron's hot, and I'd say the maximum you can reach to is 2 years. Next up, Bill Murray leads the zombie action flick. New character posters have come out for The Dead Don't Die, which is a zombie film by Jim Jarmusch. Now, I love Jim Jarmusch's early films. I thought he had a few stragglers in the middle there, but I was an enormous fan of films like Down by Law, Stranger Than Paradise, but obviously in more recent years he had success with films like Patterson, which starred Adam Driver, and a number of the cast members of a number of his other films like Coffee and Cigarettes. I think Bill Murray was in that too. They're all appearing in this zombie picture. So the three main stars are Bill Murray, Adam Driver, Chloe Sevigny, but it's premiering at the Cannes Film Festival alongside Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I think is quite curious. I mean, Tarantino's often had a bit of success, a lot of success at Cannes. As has Jim Jarmusch, so they're clearly considered auteurs, or, you know, sort of film artists by the French. So, you know, kind of quite pleasing that a comedy zombie flick is going to be launching one of our most sort of highbrow film festivals. News regarding Chadwick Boseman. Now, I think this news is also broken in Cannes. Now, the other thing about the Cannes Film Festival is there's all the screenings, but then there's all the deals that are going on in all the hotels up and down La Croisette. I've filmed it and covered it a couple of times in my when I was a sort of media and arts correspondent. So Chadwick Boseman, obviously we all know him very well from Black Panther. He's soon to be in 21 Bridges, which is a sort of action thriller flick produced by the Russo brothers, who, you know, directed Avengers Endgame. But Boseman's just signed on to play Yazuki, the first African samurai back in the 16th century Japan. So writing the script is Doug Miro, who co-created the Netflix series Narcos. So just that, you know, any more details is kind of thin on the ground, but yeah, Yazuki is a real historical figure. So, you know, interesting that once again we're homing in on an unheard of and often untalked about and unreported part of black culture. The first African samurai. Seriously cool. You can see why Chadwick Boseman would want to do that after the suit from Black Panther, then a great long sword and samurai action. Talking about Tarantino a minute ago, Uma Thurman is back. She signed up to be in a new John McTiernan sci-fi movie called Tau Ceti 4. Not a very catchy title. Does anyone know anything about that? Is it based on a book? Is it based on a famous graphic novel or anything like that? She's going to star alongside Travis Fimmel, who is, we all know from the History Channel series The Vikings. McTiernan obviously made Die Hard and Predator, but let me give you the synopsis. The synopsis of this film is the story takes place on the war-torn fourth planet in the remote Tau Ceti solar system, where three heavily armed strangers show up, size up the various oligarchs and military thugs who terrorise the place and set about killing every single one of them. Now, was that the pitch? Do you think they went into the room and just used that as the pitch? I've written better pitches than that. What sold it to Uma Thurman? Well, I guess McTiernan would have sold it to her, but do you know what I mean? Doesn't sound like there's anything in there that we haven't heard before. But people are very excited. I think we haven't seen enough of Uma for a while. Obviously, I'm a big fan of her from Kill Bill. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, the sequel has finished. And if you are a fan of our vlogs, you'll know that one of my favourite YouTube channels that I like to watch every Saturday morning is Jablinski Games. Jablinski Games. Jack Black's channel. And his last update, do go there, Jablinski Games, that's the name of the channel, just put that into YouTube and you'll get there. But his most recent film is very funny. It's him basically on the final days shooting of Jumanji. Lots of behind the scenes chats with cast and crew and what have you. There's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in there. There's a moment with Kevin Hart. Very funny, very funny. But even The Rock and Kevin Hart have gone on to Instagram. They've shared some of these films.
Guys, that is a picture wrap on Jumanji.
Picture wrap on
Holy shit. The most amazing cast ever. Nick Jonas is not here, but he is definitely missed. Aquafina, you are definitely missed. Danny DeVito. Danny Glover. I mean, God, there's such an amazing list. There's such a...
Wait, Denzel's not it.
It starts and ends with you guys, man. I love y'all, guys. I think we did it again, man. On three, Jumanji. 1, 2, 3, Jumanji! Look at our amazing crew back there. Yay! I did it. Without me, this movie wouldn't be shit. Huh? It wouldn't be shit. You guys could all go fuck yourselves. Okay? That's right. I'm tired of carrying this whole fucking thing. Okay? No. Hold on. So today's a big day here on Jumanji. It's not just a work day. It's the big fella's birthday, man.
It's my day.
It's your goddamn birthday, DJ.
Wish me a happy birthday.
Happy birthday. And I want you to tell the people what I got you for your birthday.
Well,
tell them what I got you. Not a fucking thing.
Not a fucking thing. I was going to tell them. Let me say, not a fucking thing.
You know why? Do you know why I didn't get you shit?
Why?
Because you don't need shit. It's my job as your friend to keep you humble and grounded. Everybody else wants to get you shit and act like this is a big fucking deal.
because they fucking love me.
Yeah, well,
like
guess
Jack
what?
Black here,
Guess
he
what?
got me something nice.
I did. I got you something really
Guess
nice.
what? I didn't. And I'm not. Fuck this day.
Happy birthday to
Look what I got you, man. Yeah. I set all this up. Come on, man. I love the big fella, man.
Hey,
That's right.
thank you so much.
Yeah, look at it. You like
Thank
it?
you guys.
Yeah.
What's that?
Imagine there are
It's a cake.
I'm blowing out the candles.
It's a cake.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Pleasure to be here on set with everybody else.
Put your face for a second down,
And
like
I
read
just
it.
want to say thank you to this hardworking crew. I love you guys, and to my favorite actors, Karen, Jack, and you don't have to. Jake and Matt and Hiram and the whole crew, guys. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart,
I think that
thank
covers
you
it.
so much. It's a pleasure to spend my birthday with you guys. Thank you.
Yes.
Smash his cake in his fucking face!
Oh, my
Smash
son,
the cake in his face! Smash the cake in his face!
The thing about this film is that well, not the first one. The first film obviously was Robin Williams, but then the second film, Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, was such a sleeper hit. I mean, we went to see it as a family. I think it is one of my favourite family movies, comedies in recent years, and it's made just shy of $1 billion worldwide, and it sits at number 31 in the US domestic charts. So there's a lot of hope now. It's that funny thing of when you make something not expecting it to be a massive gargantuan hit, and then it is. The kind of the pressure's on though. Looking at Jack Black on set on his channel, there's no pressure going on for Jack Black. Other members of the cast are Aquafina, who we saw recently in Crazy Rich Asians. There's Danny Glover in there, and Danny DeVito's in there. We're big fans of Danny DeVito. The best thing in Tim Burton's Dumbo by far. It Chapter 2, the trailer lands tomorrow, Thursday. You might have seen this after Thursday, in which case the trailer Chapter 2 has landed. But the author, Stephen King, has gone online saying he's seen an original cut of the film already. It can't be the final cut because the film doesn't go out until September. And his comments on it are, looking forward to It Chapter 2? You should be. I've seen it and it's terrific. The trailer is coming Thursday at noon. You'll float. does that mean? You'll float like a balloon, do you think? I don't know whether, or maybe you'll float like a corpse. I don't know. I don't know what's going out there, but he's hardly going to go online and say it's a load of old shit. That's a fact. But he does give us an indication that it's going to land at noon. So if he's based in Maine, if he was writing that tweet or whatever it was in Maine, East Coast time, that means it's going to land in the UK at 5 p.m. Kiki was asking me, what time is the It Chapter 2 trailer going to land? I think it's going to be about 5 p.m. Directed by Andy Muschietti, who directed Mama, which was a very frightening film, which me and Maddie watched in a cabin in the woods. Best location to watch a horror film. Starring James McAvoy and Jessica Chastain, to name a few. Almost a bit of an X-Men reunion in this, but it also says that Finn Wolfhard and Jack Dylan Grazer are also in there. Jack Dylan Grazer recently seen in Shazam, one of Kiki's favourites, and the comedian Bill Hader, he's also in there too. So we're very excited about this. We'll be responding to the trailer when it lands tomorrow. Looks like a favourite of mine from the 80s, Hellraiser, could be making a return. David S. Goyer, writer of The Dark Knight, no less, is writing the script for a new Hellraiser film. Now, the original idea and story came from the mind of Clive Barker, who was an English writer, and back in 1987, and he even directed and wrote the original film, which I remember with Pinhead. It was such a cool film, such a good design for a sort of evil, villainous character, guy with all these pins in his face. The only problem with the Hellraiser franchise was a little bit like A Nightmare on Elm Street. They made 10 of them. It made me sort of dread Rubik's Cubes. I'm sure they got the idea from the Rubik's Cube of the 80s, because they had this strange sort of puzzle box that once you activated it, you opened up this sort of gateway into hell where the, I think they were called the Cenobites or something like that, would all come out, and I think Pinhead is a Cenobite and what have you. So I'd say this has to be standout for it to do well, but it's that funny thing, as long as the delay has been substantial, and because we're in this sort of renaissance period of horror films and old franchises being resurrected, it could do well. I'm so excited about the Rocketman film coming out any minute now, obviously the biopic of Elton John. I've heard though that it's a good old-fashioned musical. I'm not a fan of musicals. They're going to sing, they're going to break out into song and dance. I don't want that. I wanted a kind of gritty sort of, yeah, some of the music, but I wanted a gritty, Elton John's gritty. Did you know that before Taron Egerton was cast as Elton John, the producers, guess who they had cast? Very odd. Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy to play Elton John. Cause for concern was he was 41, so ancient, and the fact that he was going to lip sync. But the better detail here is the reason they went over to Taron Egerton, was that someone said, why don't we get the guy who sings I'm Still Standing from the animated feature Sing? And the rest is history. Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, go elsewhere onto our channel, go to the Popcorn Junkies trailer reviews, reactions to see our reaction to it, has been viewed 135 million times, making it the biggest ever trailer launch or movie launch for Sony Pictures. So, you know, usually that's a sign as to how successful it's going to be. And given the suggestion that most people are saying that, you know, Spider-Man, is he going to be the future Iron Man? Is he going to be the sort of central figure around the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? You know, is it all going to sort of orbit around him? I have a slight concern about that. I just don't know if Tom Holland has enough metal in his character. And I don't even know if Spider-Man's the right character for the entire sort of next stage or phase to revolve around. I thought it was going to be Captain Marvel. I'm kind of relieved it's not Captain Marvel, but Spider-Man, again, I'm not entirely certain. The big Disney news this week, obviously, is that they've released a long slate of all these films, and everyone's going very crazy about this. But some of the more interesting, I mean, there's the obvious ones. I think the next Star Wars film, I'm 52 when the next Star Wars film comes out, so I've got to really enjoy The Rise of Luke Skywalker this December, because the next one ain't until 22 and then 24, 26. I mean, we're now looking at when I'll be 56 for when the next trilogy finishes. This is horrific. I wonder when they draw up these lists, whether they look around the executive departments or the meetings and they go, hey, Jesus, Bob, you're not going to be alive. So should they be green lighting stuff that perhaps some of them won't even be alive for? There's going to be about 86 Avatar films, and what they're going to do is it's going to be Star Wars one Christmas, Avatar the next, Star Wars one Christmas, Avatar the next, because of course Disney have completed on their purchase of 20th Century Fox, blah de blah de blah. Disney own everything. The X-Men franchise looks like it's going to just disappear. I think Dark Phoenix is going to be the end of that. We have got the New Mutants, I think, is the one. But the couple of details in the list that I quite liked was West Side Story, Spielberg's musical remake of West Side Story. That's scheduled, I think it might be this Christmas. And other bits of news are that there's going to be another Indiana Jones. They've slated an Indiana Jones film, which is very exciting, very exciting. I mean, I suppose they're all trying to squeeze the last dregs of what they can out of Harrison Ford whilst he can still move his legs rapidly and sort of call it running. I don't know if you saw Blade Runner 2049 or whatever it was. He ran at one point. It looked like it was a bit of a struggle. So, thought for the day. Sonic the Hedgehog caused all sorts of upset last week when lots of fans said Sonic looks like shit. There was such a backlash on Twitter and social media that the director no less, Jeff Fowler, said, okay, we'll change him. Now, that in itself is a story. But what I think is a bit more concerning is, could this create a little bit of a precedent in filmmaking? I mean, there's always been the tradition of test screenings. So you'll show a film, people don't get certain sequences, you pull them out, you test it again, you add sequences. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the deal. But I felt for the whole sort of CGI and sort of animation department based on a couple of, well, not a couple, I mean, it was a lot of social media action saying that they thought Sonic the Hedgehog looked like shit. But then imagine being the design team that then has to go back to scratch and start doing it all again. There's your first movie news roundup. Loads of it. What do you think? Comments below. Give us feedback. Goodbye.